Hi, I'm Carolyn Monahan. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Michigan West Coast Chamber of Commerce. In today's member question of the day, we are revisiting employee retention tax credits, or ERTC. On March 11th, President Biden signed into law the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which changed the conditions of ERTC in a favorable way for businesses. And the Chamber recommends that businesses should work with their tax preparers to make sure they're maximizing these benefits. Joining me today is Randy Kaltenmark from Barnes and Thornburg, who returns with an explanation of the March 2021 changes to the Employee Retention Tax Credit. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Doing great. We last spoke about these changes in January, and now there are more. So what changes did the ARPA make to the Employee Retention Tax Credit?
Well, the ARPA made three big changes, and fortunately, they're not, although this credit continues to evolve, these three changes are not terribly complicated, so I'll describe each in detail here. But in summary, those three changes included an extended eligibility period, an expansion of the credit to what is being called a recovery startup business. And then lastly, the third change was the expansion of the credit for severely financially distressed employers. And these changes take effect for calendar quarters after June 30, 2021 through the end of 2021. So important for the second half of this year.
Sure. So should we break these down and go through each of those changes? So let's start with what is the extended eligibility period?
Well, the extended period for claiming the credit, previously the credit was going to expire on June 30 of this year, 2021, but now it's been extended through the end of the year, so it expires on December 31, 2021. So you've got an extra 2 months to claim the credit, and the impact of this extension is significant. In general, as you may recall, employers that qualified for the credit, meaning they were eligible because they were partially or fully suspended due to government order, or because they experienced a significant decline in gross receipts due to the pandemic, were eligible to take the credit for up to 70% of qualified wages for 2021. So now with this extension, this means that an employer eligible for the credit can claim it for all 4 quarters of this year and could potentially receive up to $28,000 of credits per employee for 2021. So it's a big benefit to those that qualify. So the extension was a welcome development.
So let's move on to number 2. What is the recovery startup business?
We just talked about, to be eligible, generally employers have to either experience a shutdown due to government order because of the COVID-19 pandemic, or experience a significant decline in gross receipts because of that pandemic. This recovery startup business is really a new category of eligibility added by the ARPA. And it provides that a recovery startup business can qualify for the credit, even though it may not otherwise qualify under the general eligibility requirements. And so what I'll call an RSB, or a recovery startup business, is an employer that began a trade or business after February 15th of 2020, for which the average annual gross receipts over a 3-year look-back period do not exceed $1 million. And so those RSBs are going to be eligible for the credit. And it's important to note, even though they might be eligible for the credit, the credit caps are different for them than they were for the folks that qualify under general eligibility. While general eligibility employers are limited to the credit of up to $7,000 per employee for 2020 and $10,000 for 2021, an RSB is limited to a total credit of $50,000 per quarter for all employees. So there's a cap on an aggregate basis for an RSB. While it's an expansion of the credit, the benefits received under the credit for an RSB might be more limited than what you'd otherwise get if you qualified through the general eligibility test.
So that's really having a clear understanding of which one you might benefit from the most.
Right.
Okay, well, let's talk about the third one, which is what is A severely financially distressed employer.
Yeah, so the ARPA defines severely financially distressed employers as companies who experienced a gross receipts reduction of more than 90% compared to the same quarter in 2019. So in those severely financially distressed employers can then treat all wages paid to employees as qualified wages for purposes of the credit, regardless of the size of that employee. So you might recall that normally if an employer had 500 employees or more, then they were limited in with respect to the wages that they could treat as qualified wages. Only those wages that they paid to folks who were not working because of the pandemic got treated as qualified wages. Here, if you're a severely financially distressed employer, it doesn't matter whether you have 50 employees or 5,000 employees. If you've had more than 90% decline in gross receipts, then you get to treat all your wages as qualified wages for purposes of calculating the credit. But your constituents should contact their tax advisors and go through some of those more fine points as a result of the legislation.
That is excellent advice. And the Chamber is really recommending the same thing very strongly to make sure that you're getting the most that you can possibly get to help your business. Thank you, Randy, for helping walk us through this today.
Very good. Thanks, Carolyn. Appreciate it.